Hello everybody and welcome to this next fragrance video. How many fragrances do I have here? I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 12. I think 12. Unisex fragrance is the best unisex fragrances, in my opinion. What is a unisex fragrance? Well, it's something that can be worn by men or women. And now, I think designation is important because as a man, you can wear whatever you want. As a woman, you can wear whatever you want. Doesn't mean you should. There's women out there that wear Creed Aventus. I think that's crazy. I don't know an example to give you of what men wear, but you can wear whatever you want. Doesn't mean you should, in my opinion. But I mean, these fragrances truly can go each way. Every generation has its own thing. 80s had very complicated fragrances. 90s had simple fragrances, and then 20s had, a lot of sports fragrances, and then where we are right now is unisex. A lot of what we can base and say is a good fragrance are leaning towards unisex with not a lot of notes. So it's a great time to do this, but it'd be one thing to say, yeah, this $400 fragrance, it's great unisex. It probably is. I don't want to do that. I do not want to feature $400 fragrances on this channel because nobody wants to go and buy those. So these are going to be affordable unisex fragrances. And so you're not going to see the bigger ticket items, but you might see some cheaper clones and alternatives. Let's just get into it. I think unisex fragrances, at least from men, are broken down into 3 categories: gourmand, or the food, rich, complex. Number 2 is the opposite of that, sugary, sweet. And then the last one would be rose-based floral fragrances, which floral-based fragrances, perfumes, right? So if you have a cologne that has a lot of floral notes, it's probably going to be pretty unisex savvy. So in no particular order, this first one, as I stated, we're not going to have 2 expensive fragrances, but this is the first clone of one of those, and this is Al Haramain's Amber Oud Gold. And this is a clone of Herbapura by Xerjoff, which I think typically goes for like, what, $150? I don't know. I'm probably wrong with that, but Herbapura is, I think, a little bit more feminine than masculine, but I do know a lot of people, particularly in German. The Germans really love this fragrance. Nightclub, kind of energizing, sweet. They opens up with a lot of fruit, red notes, not red notes, green notes, blue. I mean, all the fruity notes. And what you get is just getting punched, not even punched, like punted, booted in the face with fruit, energizing, fun, excitement. This is, I have to be in a special mood to wear this because this is just not, it's just not something that you can wear every day from me. But if you want something fun, energetic, playful, then look no further than Herbapura and Al Haramain's Amber Oud Gold. I think is the best clone of Herbapura, but it's also just their line. Amber Oud line just produces some fantastic fragrances. While we're here, let's just keep going into some of the more sweeter ones, because I don't This is Burberry Touch. I did not think that I was gonna like this one as much as I did. Right off the bat, it's super citrus, depth, a little complexity, but it's not masculine. I don't know if it's a little bit of those citrus and a little bit of the floral notes, but it's so sweet and citrusy off the top, a little powdery, a little reminiscent of light blue by Dolce in that way. And this is going to be, I believe around like $35 to $40. You can pick this up. And they do have these at Ulta for sampling as well. Now, in addition to utility and culture and the direction of the fragrance world, why would you want a unisex fragrance? Well, I've said this before, and I'll say it again now. The goal of this whole thing, fragrances, wearing fragrances, shopping for fragrances, is not necessarily to get compliments. You're not necessarily trying to attract them, but you're also not trying to repulse people as well. And these unisex fragrances allow for the greatest opportunity for that. If you're a woman using heavy florals, it's probably not going to work. Probably not going to attract a man. And the exact opposite, if you're a guy and you're using heavy, like leather tobacco, it's probably not going to attract women. So, but that's not to say that we wear fragrances to attract people per se, but we definitely don't want to repulse them. Let's move on. This next one is from the house of Rochas. And this is going to be a little confusing because the name itself does not at all lend itself to being something you would think would be unisex, but it is. This is Mustache. This is a clone-ish. I'm not going to say it's a 100% clone, it's a little bit different, but of Tuxedo by YSL. And there's better. The reason why I picked this one is because I think it's a little bit more feminine leaning than Tuxedo and its other clones. You have a floral opener, but also a fair amount of citrus and that lemon right off the top. This is a confusing scent, and if I need any support in saying that this is a unisex scent, if you go to TJ Maxx or Marshall's, they actually have the Tuxedo clones in the women's section, not the men's. So their website labels it actually as a women's fragrance. It's a really delightful, fresh, playful. It's, I don't think, for everyday wear because it's sophisticated. It's kind of like your black tie fragrance, but depending on what you do during a day, I suppose you could make it a daily driver as well. Okay, up next we have kind of our last fruity one, which I think I could possibly save for the next section. So this will be a good transfer because I think this one's kind of 50-50. The next category of these unisex fragrances are going to be gourmand. What is gourmand? Gourmand is rich, boozy, complex, alcohol, sort of a boozy rum, something that is reminiscent of food. And you'll see this a lot in these unisex fragrances. Number is angel share, right? This, from the house of Lattafa, is honor and glory. Honor and glory has this rich sort of vanilla pineapple brulee, so it's kind of like a dessert, a super gourmand. And the reason why I put it as this in between is because that pineapple, very, very prevalent, is there. It's up top, it's front and center. It stings the nose, it's sweet, it's sultry, it's complex, it's rich. It's a great fragrance. Now, this is the best in the Badee Al Oud line by Lattafa, and it is also a heavy hitter. It comes on strong and it stays on long. It is gonna be on you probably till you wash it off, and I wouldn't recommend more than 2 or 3 sprays with this guy, but if you know how to wear it, it's really good. It's really good. I don't know how I'd feel about trying to wear that, like, in the summer. In the summer, the spring, I've never even tried it. So maybe some people haven't gotten away with it, but that's definitely, to me, a fall transitioning fragrance. But I honestly think it suits women a little bit better than men, but that's the joy of having a unisex scent. It could go either way. And the fact that you even have to wonder and question, well, is it more feminine, is it more male? That's proof that what you have is a unisex scent, in my opinion. Okay, when you're talking about boozy fragrances, you gotta name this one. From the house of Replica, this is Jazz Club. Another one of those transitional fragrances, because this has smoky notes of mixed drinks, very sweet, boozy, but also fruit, has front and center cocktails, and Replica is a great company, and I think Jazz Club, Autumn Leaves, and By the Fireplace are the best. I could have also put By the Fireplace, but I feel like By the Fireplace is a little bit more masculine than Jazz Club. I think Jazz Club is right in that sweet spot for being unisex, and I think this actually might have the distinction of being the most expensive fragrance on the list. Jazz Club. Really good, really good. And that is a Four Seasons fragrance as well. So I've worn that during the summer, spring, and fall. Next, we have the fragrance that none of you are going to be surprised made this list, and this is also from the house of Lattafa, and this is Kamrah, Qahwa, and this fits the vibe of the last two. This takes that original Lattafa Kamrah and adds kind of a sweet apple mixed drink, kind of a mix, what I think, between angel share and brandy, apple brandy on the rocks, which I love. Those are my 2 favorite Killian fragrances. So I've been engaged in discussion with individuals this fragrance is, I wore this today actually. As soon as it gets colder outside, it's a 2-sprayer though for me. 2-spray. Don't overspray it. It'll last forever. It will project. It'll leave a scent trail. That one's easy to overspray for sure, for sure. Next. We go from the most expensive, which is Replica, to I think the cheapest, or at least at one point in time it was the cheapest. This is from the house of Cremo. This is spice and black vanilla. This is a very good fragrance. To me, it fits the same vibes as Tobacco Vanille, so I didn't feel the need to include it, Tobacco Vanille in this, or any of its different alternatives. This is spice, black pepper. Is it black pepper? It's not. It's cardamom. Excuse me, cardamom, cashmere wood, and vanilla. This is a very simplified version of Spice Bomb Extreme by Victor and Rolf, which goes for $140 new in the big name stores. This is a fragrance that I have witnessed both genders wearing, men and women, and is really good. When I first got it, I think it was like 10 or 12 bucks. Now enough people have caught on that I think it's like 20 now, but is it worth it for that price? Absolutely. It's simple. It projects. It's really good. It's really good. Okay. This next one is from the house of Swiss Arabian. It's Casablanca. Kind of a lighter gourmand. You're getting those vanilla, boozy, light citrus kind of notes. It's kind of like if you combined Kamrah and spice and black vanilla in one, I would say. It's not gonna break the bank, but it's also not gonna break your nostrils. It's a very inoffensive version of a gourmand fragrance, because not everybody likes gourmand fragrance. It's kind of like your intro to gourmand fragrances, but 100% is mass appealing and can go to men, women, very unisex friendly fragrance right there. We have one more gourmand, and then we'll move into our next category. This one is kind of by far was the most requested fragrance and the most recommended fragrance, and I'm so grateful because it's a great fragrance. This is from the house of French Avenue via Fragrance World. This is Liquid Bruna. One of the coolest packaging by far, and this is a clone of Parfum de Marly's Altair. This has sort of rich complexity, boozy, honey kind of fragrance. There's so many notes going on that, for me, it has to sit a little bit and macerate and kind of get its act together. You know, it's like a 20-year-old boy, right? Gotta get its act together. Gotta figure out what's going on. Because there's so much going on with the rich gourmand vibes, the booziness, but also that opening notes and that sweetness. It's very, very complex. It does sit very well on skin, and I can't wait to see how this matures, but it's like a $45 fragrances, and it's fairly new release, and I think give it a couple more months and it'll be even lower. I think it's already down below 40, and to me it's It's stupid how good that is for that price. And Fragrance World is doing great things lately, but I hesitate to say that it's a safe blind buy if you like gourmand type fragrances. It is, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. Not everyone's cup of tea. So, alright. We move into our last category of unisex fragrances, which are going to be the floral notes. Men don't typically gravitate towards floral notes, and women definitely do, and so much so that a lot of those floral notes is found in makeup, sort of makeup profiles. So iris, for instance, is used in lipstick. So some people, when they get that iris, they just smell ladies' lipstick and they're like, yeah, not for me. So one good example of floral notes done in a mass appealing men's fragrance is going to be Y by YSL, and the Elixir de Parfum, that geranium, does really, really good. But we also have some really good floral front, floral heavy type men's fragrances as well. So my first, this is going to be kind of a weird one, but when I smelled it, I was like, no, it's got to be in here. I think there is something just almost like by default that if you have a rose-based fragrance, I'm just going to think that it's unisex. It really just is natural. So this is from the house of Moschino, and this is Toy Boy. And Toy Boy is a rose-based fragrance, but unlike a lot of floral fragrances, it's just bitter and complex and makeup smelling or lotion, and this is not that. Instead, what you have is a pungent floral citrus mix-up, mash-up thing going on. And this is a fragrance that is so unique. It's niche, I think, in what it presents, but it's not expensive. I see these at Ross, like full size for like $70 or something, which is a pretty good deal. But I think honestly, if I was to recommend, started dating somebody and that person said, what more masculine fragrance, what unisex fragrance, it would either be Kamrah or it would be this, because I love this profile. It's just not one that I feel confident in rocking all the time. Sometimes, yeah, absolutely, but it's very feminine and just depends on what you're wearing, the position you are, what you're trying to portray. So I love it. I love this pickup. I think it's great, and man, it took me a long time to make up my mind and say and part of it was the advertising. The advertising for this was so bad. Not that it wasn't present, it would have been better if it wasn't present, but the advertising for it reminded me of Born in Roma Intense, where they were like, it's a clubbing fragrance, it's going out and partying. I'm like, okay, so I guess I don't need it, because that's not what I really do. And Toy Boy, when they advertised, it was what they call daddies in the community with leather whips, and so I'm just like, man, y'all just like shoot yourself in the foot with these advertising. The Valentino has the worst advertising department in the world, I think. Okay. This next one is one of my more recent pickups, and I can't remember what this floral note is. It could be geranium, but I'm thinking no. I can't remember. This is from the house of Mont Blanc. This is Explore Platinum, and is a floral forward fragrance as well. It is very pleasant, but unlike Moschino, which cuts it with sweeter citrusy notes, this doesn't. This is floral. It's powdery, and it stays that way, and it wants to stay that way. That's its MO. That's what it's doing. But what you have is a rather simplistic, but it's also very rich fragrance. And I love how it sits on skin. It develops, it dries. It's just gorgeous. And I believe, I don't want to tell you wrong here, but this is an EDP concentration. So unless it projects. And I know women really like this fragrance as well. So I hesitate to put this last one in the floral category. I don't really know what other category it would fit in, so I'm just gonna do kind of a stand alone. And this next fragrance really needs no introduction. From the house of Armaf and the Club de Nuit line, this is Untold, and this is gonna be their clone of Bakarat Rouge. Now, if you want more of a masculine fragrance, the 540 I equate to being a little bit more masculine because it has a nutty note that's put in there, and I think that's the one probably that's cloned more than Untold or Bakarat. But it's funny, man. And let me just talk about this before I get into a segue. Armaf does such a good job. What is Bakarat? Everyone should be familiar with Bakarat if you've been in the fragrance game. Everyone asks about it. There have been so many fragrances, even designer fragrances, that have kind of ripped it off, like Ariana Grande's Cloud, and tons of clones. Mason Francis, and an opening, sweet, powdery, playful, floral, feisty, and rich and complex. Now, when I first got into the fragrance game, I really didn't care for Bakarat that much, and I've changed my mind ever since then. I like it. $400 worth, absolutely not. I wouldn't even say $40 worth, but I do like the DNA. I was going behind a woman the other day and seen her a couple times before, and she just like drowns herself in fragrance. And I said, what kind of fragrance? I said, what fragrance you got? What fragrance you got? And I didn't say it like that. I said it like a normal person. I didn't say it like a pervert. I said, what is that? And I knew the DNA, but it was just a little bit different. Just a little bit different. And it's funny, she didn't even remember what it was, but she goes, 540, I can't remember. I said, oh, Bakarat. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So, it probably was. It probably was not a clone. The people that get the clones and then try to convince you that they're wearing the real thing, I see that a lot more than people who just straight up don't even remember what they're wearing. They just remember 540. But this lady, she bathes in this stuff, so you can smell it coming from a mile away. But it was really good, is what I'm trying to get. It's really good, really pleasant, but it's richer, more complex, and nuttier, whereas this is more sweet, simpler, and that's kind of like the original clone vibe. I think the original Bakarat got cloned a lot more than 540, but 540 is coming around, and it's good. It's good. Now you might look at that and be like, well, that's a perfume, and you just told a story of a woman wearing it. So Tuxedo cologne, in this case, mustache. And then throw in a nice floral fragrance. Honestly, I have no preference between Toy Boy and Platinum. I think they're both great. Let's just say Toy Boy, because I'm infatuated with it right now. Man, you got some good unisex fragrances that are going to be affordable. They're not going to break the bank. So those are my top three. Kamrah, any YSL, you could get Tuxedo, Suits, fragrance rolled Suits. You can get the Tux. I can't remember who makes that, but that's a good one. You can get Mustache, but Toy Boy is unique. This is the one that doesn't really fit as a clone to the other ones. It's gonna make you stand out, but mass appealing unisex. Toy Boy, there was some pushback. People who don't like floral notes, no matter how good of a floral fragrance you're gonna make, they're not gonna like it. So you can't make everybody happy, you understand, but just really, really good. Anyways, that is my 12 fragrances, unisex fragrances. You just can't go wrong.